Hey guys, it's Robin. In a minute, we're going to get to the video that you signed up for to watch on demand, where I interviewed my top 5 clients who are going to be competing in this year's Better Your Best competition at bootcamp, robinsbigseminar.com. And they're going to be talking about how they added an average of $2 million in new revenue to their business in 2020 and added an addition of $646,000 in net profit. That's in addition to the salary they paid themselves and in addition to the profit they made in 2019. So just incredible. You're going to love that. But I have a quick reminder, and that is you want to get registered for bootcamp before Friday, March 5th, because after that date, the price goes up. Right now, we're in the extreme early bird discount, and you want to get registered now so you save yourself a lot of money. And you have until April 27th to cancel if you find out you can't make it or you don't feel comfortable traveling. You can also register virtually, but you have until April 27th to cancel and get 100% of your money back. So you've got no risk whatsoever. Or if you find out you can't come and you want to downgrade to virtual, you can do that at any time and we'll refund you the difference between the in-person ticket and the virtual ticket. But go ahead and get registered because you're going to get to see these 5 Better Your Best finalists, and you're going to get the campaigns that they actually use, the templates, the strategies, the scripts, the websites, all the things that they use to generate that revenue. You're actually going to get at boot camp. You're also going to get to meet Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, because we're doing a special double session with him. You're going to love that. And you're going to get to meet and learn from Marcus Lemonis, who is a from-scratch multimillionaire. He's the CEO and founder of Camping World and Good Sam, which are billion-dollar companies. He is a phenomenal entrepreneur. You may have seen him on the TV show The Profit. He is called the Turnaround King for a reason. He works with small businesses, and you're going to get so much value from that, as well as sessions that I'm doing, my team is doing. And yeah, you just want to be there. You don't want to miss out on this incredible event. One other thing, we are giving you a free digital marketing blueprint, and that's going to start at the end of this month. So you want to get your ticket now because we're going to be delivering those sessions live via webinars, and we're going to walk you through how to implement online digital marketing, an online digital marketing plan, because it can be overwhelming. It's a big black hole. We're going to show you what to do first, second, third. We're going to show you exactly how to do it. We're going to answer all of your questions. We're going to give you that blueprint, and you're going to get that free. But again, you got to get registered by Friday or the price goes up. And nobody wants to spend more money. I mean, why would you do that? You can get your money back if you have to cancel. It's crazy. All right. And you want to be here. This event is going to be off the charts. We're doing a Western theme. So you're going to cowboy up or cowgirl up, and we're going to have a great time. So go ahead, robinsbigseminar.com, register, and that's it. Now let's get to the video. Thanks. All right, I think we're now live. Hey, everybody, Robin Robbins here, coming to you live from a very sunny, beautiful Franklin, Tennessee. We got a very special webinar we're doing today. Last count, I think we were pretty close to, or we may have surpassed 600 people on the webinar registered for the webinar today. So this is obviously a very exciting webinar, very interesting topic. We are going to be talking about how 5 of my clients generated an average increase in revenue of $2.1 million last year and an increase in net profits of $646,115. And that's in 2020. As you all know, that was a horrendous year for many people, very painful with shutdowns. There was political unrest. There were business closures, tough economy, unemployment through the roof. And so for them to grow that much, and that's an increase of 2.1 million on average, an increase of $646,000 in net profit after taking a fair market salary. And that's the increase in addition to what they were already doing. So, you know, folks, this really is when I say these 5 people are very unique in the industry, I sincerely mean it. These results are not typical, right? These are not results that most MSPs experienced last year. If you've come to my roadshow events, if you've been following any of my articles or blog posts and whatnot, you know that we as a company saw a 500% increase in businesses, MSPs going out of business. They tended to be the smaller shops, I think they were exclusively the smaller shops. So a lot of people, while a lot of them were going out of business, these guys were growing like crazy. So I'm very excited about this. Now I'm going to share my screen. Before we get started, I just want to go over just a couple things. Again, just in case you didn't catch it verbally, the average 1 year increase from 2019 to 2020 for the 5 people today was a $2.1 million increase. Actually, it's like $2,133,429, $646,115 increase in net profits, and $115,000 increase in MRR. And so, if you're just joining us right now, what you want to do is you go over to robinsbigseminar.com/BYB. And what you can do is download the essays that these guys wrote. You can see the specifics on their business, what they did, how they did it. They did outline in their essays the campaigns that they used. And today on this webinar, we're going to dig into that a little bit more detail. The other thing I would say, guys, is get your questions ready. In the Zoom area down there below. The best way to ask a question is in the Q&A bubble. You can just kind of click on that. That helps us to organize the questions. So make sure you go download their essays and start looking at that as we go through this, and make sure you have plenty of questions lined up. I mean, this is your opportunity to ask a peer of yours how they achieved incredible growth. Now, 3 important things I want you to know. This webinar is not some blatant sales pitch for Accelerators Club, for boot camp. I'm not selling anything on this webinar. So I just want to say that because I know a lot of you are going to see, and they're going to talk about accelerators and going to rapid implementation and producers club, et cetera. But that's not the purpose of this webinar. I'm not going to just line up like softball questions to say, okay, well, tell everybody why they should join accelerators. I'm not going to do that. We're not selling anything. I really do want this to be of value for all of you. The other thing is, I just want to be clear. I'm not guaranteeing or implying that, hey, sign up for my program, join accelerators, join Producers Club, and you're going to get these results. Because again, nobody can legally or ethically, morally guarantee any kind of results. I just want to kind of put that out there as well. And the other thing I want to say is just don't let these people discourage you, because I know when you hear these kind of results, which are real, by the way, they're not fake. These are real results. Some of you might get the reaction of, there's probably some hoax going on here, or they probably fiddled with the numbers in some way. Maybe there's like a little bit of sour grapes because maybe you had a terrible year. And I would encourage you to kind of notice that if that's going on. Like Mark Twain said, one of the most annoying things in the world is a good example. And anytime you've got a good example, anytime you've got the ideal, you can use it for either inspiration, or you can say, screw that, and it can discourage you, make you feel bad about yourself, or turn sour grapes. And again, I just would encourage you to instead take this as the point of, you can do this too. I mean, if they did this in 2020, you can certainly do it this year. Now, real quick, want to go over what the heck is the better your best, because again, some of you on here are new members of mine. Maybe you're new to me and you're going, well, what the hell is this BYB and all this, right? So the Better Your Best contest is something we started doing 14 years ago. And we did that in conjunction with the big event we have every year. Started as a joke. We started calling it Robin's Big Seminar. Actually, a lot of the key terms you hear me using, these come from clients. So they talk about Robinizing my website, hey, that's Robin's Big Seminar. Like it was a phrase that came out of my clients. That's what they called it. So it stuck. So every year we have a big annual event for all of our clients. They come in, there's usually like last year, obviously it was virtual. We had like 4,800 people who attended virtually. Usually in person, we have about 1,200 to 1,400 attendees in person, all MSPs from all over the world. And part of that is what we started doing 14 years ago is selecting our top clients based on revenue, increase in revenue, in profitability, MRR clients, and of course in the marketing they were doing, and letting them compete on stage to be my spokesperson. And so the audience votes, and we have a panel of judges, and they share, here's what we did to generate increases in sales, profits, MRR. And the audience loves this because you get an opportunity to see the campaigns, the strategies that my top clients are using, right? So that's what part of Better Your Best is. It's a competition we do every year for spokesperson position. And really it's to fulfill our mission. This is our mission statement as an organization, as a company. And it's to build a community of success-minded entrepreneurs that inspires excellence, encourages collaboration, and expands the capacity of all members to achieve great things. And that encouraging collaboration is a big part of why we do Better Your Best. And the other 3 reasons why we hold this contest is we want to encourage our members to implement and report. So there's a natural law, they call it Pearson's law. And that is when performance is measured, performance improves. When performance is measured and reported back, the rate of improvement accelerates. So that's why we started doing these contests in the first place. We wanted people to implement and we wanted them to report back the results. And that helps us to improve our marketing. It helps to encourage the other members. So that's why we initially started doing this and still why we continue to do it. It's also to inspire members to implement, because it's one thing to hear something in the toolkit or hear something that I'm teaching at a class and you get it. But when you see a peer doing it and getting results, often that's the key that unlocks things. I don't know why that is. It's the way it is. So it is to inspire those of you out there who are just getting started. Maybe you're struggling, having a little tough time of it, to inspire you to implement more. And it's also to improve the marketing campaigns that we roll out, because as more members implement and report back, we learn what's working, what's not working. So if we didn't have this contest where we ask them to formalize an essay and the specific campaigns and the metrics, if we didn't do this, then we would not know as much what works and what doesn't work. So that's why we do this competition. So these 5 contestants that are on with us today, the only one I'm standing in for Ross. So you have to imagine Ross over my face because he took this at the last Producers Club meeting. The picture, Ross couldn't be there in person. So, but these 5 are going to be presenting at our Robin's Big Seminar, our big annual event. So if you're coming to that event, you're going to see these people, you're going to meet them, you're going to get the specific campaigns they use, because we're going to compile all those campaigns and we're going to put them up on the dashboard and we're going to allow you to download all of them. And then that's your marketing plan for the year. I mean, think about it. You come in and if you just replicate the campaigns that they did, I don't know if you get 2 million increase, but you're sure to get something if you replicate what they did, because they're going to be sharing with you the campaigns that worked the best. If you go to Robin's Big Seminar, that's where this event is. All the details of this event are happening. It's in May. We're having Kevin O'Leary as one of our keynote speakers, as well as Marcus Lemonis. I'm going to be delivering a really good brand new session on the 6 most important marketing bullets you need, because we have a Western theme. And then the Better Your Best, as well as dozens of other breakout sessions. And so this is our big industry event. If you're looking to grow, if you're looking to learn how to be a better business owner, how to add more profitability, how to get better quality clients, this is the place you want to be. And oh, by the way, the winner of the contest gets a car, and we're giving them an Aston Martin this year. So they literally get an Aston Martin car. And that's mainly because I don't want my spokesperson driving around in a really crappy car. That's just the reality of it. Okay. So, Ryan, let me check in with you real quick. I don't think we have any questions so far, but is there anything I missed or you want to add?
No, you're great. The one question that did come in, which I think is relevant, is that, Alan asked, what's the percentage increase? You talked about the 2.4 million in top line, right? And I did answer him. It's 121%. So the average is literally more than doubling in top line revenue.
Right.
No questions about where to get the Aston or anything like that yet, but I'll let you know if that comes up.
Right. And guys, again, if you go to robinsbigseminar.com/BYB, you can download their essays and you can see more details of the specific number of revenue up, recurring revenue. And we're going to go over some numbers in this webinar as well. So you'll get the picture, but I would encourage you to download those essays. You can do that, toot sweet, and we can be on with this. All right. So again, if you have questions, let me know. Now we're going to dive right in and we're going to get started. The first person that I'm going to interview, the first contestant in the Better Your Best competition this year is Mike Bazar. Bazar Solutions, and he's an MSP based in Lubbock, Texas, and he founded the company in 2009. He's got 12 employees, and in 2020 it was at 2.76 million. So Mike, now's the time to unmute, brother.
Yeah, sorry, we I guess diving in here. It was, like I said, we started the company in 2009. We're actually up to 14 employees, which is great. And I think, we started it the way a lot of people start their IT firms, right? We can do IT better. You could maybe do it better than your boss, wherever it was. I'd spent a couple of years working with Fortune 500 companies and thought I could bring, this really great IT experience to small business. And so that's really how we started the company. And like I said, we're there in Lubbock, and which is about 250 to 280,000 people. And I always feel like that's relevant because I know I've sat in the audience before and thought, yeah, but they're in a big city, they got millions of people, of course they could get those kind of increases in results. And last year I think ours was 52% increase in revenue.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, I wanted to make sure you said that, because you had a 52% growth from 2019 to 2020, which is just crazy good. That's it, it's, and actually, the other thing that I wanted to mention is from 2017, which is, I think, when you became a client,
yep,
you had a 95% growth from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
right?
So 2017 is when we came to boot camp and finally signed up. I'd been to a couple of boot camps, and I think, my essay talks about some of the stuff. And so go read, everybody go read it. But it is, the joke in Producers Club is everybody buys the toolkit and they stick it on the shelf, and then they let it get dusty and dirty. And then they finally get desperate enough for whatever it is, and they pull it off and they do the stuff. And so, that's kind of the whole theme on everything it is you've got to do the work. And, everybody always asks what's the one thing? I don't know how many times I've been within earshot of you, Robin, and somebody walks up and says, hey, what's the one campaign? I'm really struck. What's the one thing? And my reply now is always, we got to do the work, and you just got to pick, right? It doesn't really necessarily, there's a ton of great information, but if you don't do the work and don't do the right work, you won't get the right results. And, and I'm not saying, because everybody works hard as a business owner, and, but they're stuck in their technical work a lot of the time, and they don't step back and say, let me do the sales and marketing work correctly. So they send out one aspirin campaign. They don't do any follow-up phone calls or emails, and they go, that didn't work, and they quit. And then they go, this stuff doesn't work. And, I've heard a lot of that, even, talking to other people I know that have been in Producers Club, and it's, well, I didn't get that many leads from this campaign or that mailing campaign. I'm getting them all from my website. And so I've been asking them, well, how many can you qualify came to your website because of those campaigns? And they're like, well, we don't know exactly. And I said, well, it's a hard number to get because a customer may not tell you exactly why they Googled you or whatever the case was, but it's all of these things dovetailing together. And that to me makes the big difference, is that you have to do, again, you have to do the work and keep pushing on it and to get the results.
Yeah, that one thing question gets asked a lot of ways. It's sometimes it is just, what's the one thing? Sometimes it's, what's the one campaign I should start with? Or, Robin, if you had to start over again, like, what would be the first thing you would do? So it gets asked a lot of different ways. And I understand it, because when you're faced with this overwhelming amount of, like, you look at our marketing roadmap in the toolkit, right? And you look at that and you go, oh my God, this is, crazy. But, that's why we tell you to follow the roadmap and start implementing and roll things out. And I think, a lot of people, like, if they get one or two leads, see, they shouldn't be discouraged about that. Like, the fact that you got a couple of leads is like, keep doing and improve. Like, okay, what could you do better? Maybe tighten up the list, maybe get better at the follow-up calls. Maybe, I don't know, whatever you tweak the campaign, and you just keep going and getting better and better. But most people, they stop. And so then they have to start over. It's like, well, if you don't like starting over, then stop quitting, because you keep quitting and then you have to keep starting over, and you got to go through this painful process of starting over. But let me share everybody with your results. So, cause we got a little picture of you, but so in 2020, you got your revenues up $951,166. MRR was up 33,000. Net profit went up 208%. So I think we already established that you did quite a bit of marketing. I'm looking at your essay here, but what would you say, looking back, what would you say are like the 1, 2, 3 things that you did that had the greatest impact in getting those results?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So the kind of bigger picture, in the essay I talk about Jim Collins and Good to Great and all those books he's written. One of the things he hits on is the flywheel. And so I go back to, I remember seeing Charles Henson's slide with that calendar that he had the year that he won, that was like, we did 18 million marketing campaigns, and thinking, I could never get there. Like that was overwhelming. And to me, it's that flywheel is a key to a lot of the success. And it goes back to do the work, do a little work, and then do a little more work, and do a little more work, and do a little more. And as you do that, you get pushed in that flywheel, and you gain significantly more momentum, so that you can see those results come up, and then they just keep cranking out, and you get, really great results coming back out of it. So kind of a quick overview of what we did was, because of COVID, a little bit on that, right? Beginning of the year started out, we were doing aspirin campaign and Google ads and, SEO on the website, and like Google local, we do, try to post up on our Google local page, once every week or two. We were basically trying to do all the things as much as we possibly could. April, May, and June, we didn't get a lot of leads because it was April, May, and June of COVID, and everybody was shut down trying to figure out what was going on. Right. But we still closed 7K in MRR because we never stopped. So because we didn't get the leads, and we followed up with customers, and we talked about VoIP, and we pivoted and changed to what helps people now. It wasn't, what are we going to go sell? It was, what are we going to, so yeah, we're going to sell them VoIP, but it's because they need to work from home. We went out and we found and kind of built this, we'll do cybersecurity for your home users. And we were very clear, like, I'm not going to troubleshoot your crappy router at your house. If your internet sucks, we'll, recommend a replacement or an upgrade, but how can we do that at a reasonable expense? So as people are pushing everybody to home, we can stretch the security umbrella. We talked a lot about all those things. We kept tabs on inventory. I'm sure everybody ran into the inventory problem. So we had a lot of schools and other customers looking for laptops. And then you'd go, well, here's, the crazy expensive ones, or there's none to be had. And anytime there was inventory, we'd call the ones we knew were most likely to buy and say, hey, we've got, but you need to buy now. We're not trying to sell you hard. We're just, if you're not, I got 10 other people I'm calling because somebody wants them. Right. And so we went down the list and did that. We never stopped Google ads. We slowed down on the aspirin campaign for a little bit. We looked for cost savings inside of our business, but honestly, we do that a lot. And so there wasn't a whole lot to trim. And then we, kind of towards the end of the year, as it started recovering, we started right-sizing some customers and looking at some clients, because we had been growing. We looked at some clients that we were not profitable on and said, here's your new monthly rate. Not necessarily take it or leave it, but we just went back and figured out who was burning our engines we didn't need necessarily, or they were just sucking up tons of time, which made it so we couldn't focus as well on some of the other customers, and right-sized out some people. And we really only lost one, and it's because they viewed technology as a hammer, right? It was a tool. It wasn't really part of their business. They didn't, it was, I need a hammer to pound a nail, and technology was that hammer. And so we went back and almost doubled their rates and talked to them about it. But even then, we couldn't get a meeting to say, hey, you guys have almost doubled in size. We want to talk to you. So we finally just said, hey, we're ramping your rates over 3 months. This is what it is, because obviously you don't value it. And they stuck around for about 4 or 5 months and switch to somebody who was half the price and half the service. And, nobody likes to lose a customer, but that was, you're going to move on.
So how many customers did you like phase out then in 2020?
So we lost one. They actually quit us in 2021, but we raised their rates in 2020. And so, for the last 3 months or so of 2020. And then we had a couple oil field clients that we cut their rates, but they're still clients, and we've raised them back up. And then we had one other client that left kind of right in the middle of COVID, and they were like $800 a month, and it took 3 months to get them to pay a bill. And so when they said they found somebody cheaper, we just said, see you later. You were probably going to get fired this year anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the reason I want to say that is because, even like when you stick to your guns and you raise your prices and you don't allow clients to take advantage of you, you get what you tolerate. I've said that about employees, but it's the same with clients, you get what you tolerate. So, you were able to increase those revenues and profitability and everything, despite getting rid of a couple of those bad clients. So that's phenomenal. So Google Ads, SEO, Google Local, the web forms, the aspirin campaigns, the QBRs, all of those things. These are all different campaigns. You have your newsletter. You kept sending tech tip emails out, all of it. So, guys, just again, I want to remind you when you come to boot camp, we're going to make sure that you get your hands on these campaigns. Let me ask you this. So looking back, let's say 2020, but even I think before then, because personally, I think 2020 revealed whether you had a good business model or not. 2020 revealed whether you were prepared or not, right? I mean, I think people think there was you pulled off this heroic act, or even my business, the fact that we grew, even it was a little bit, we still grew when a lot of other event companies were closing and furloughing their employees and everything else. And I think what happens is in 2020 revealed the strength and were you doing the right things, right? So when you look back, what do you think you learned from 2020 that you would advise someone who may have been in, if you could go back to someone who was in your situation in 2017, where, you're struggling, you're not making a lot of money, you're working a lot of hours, you have no marketing in place, it's like you're overwhelmed. What advice would you give to those watching?
Yeah. So real quick too, just because I know you want to touch on some of the 3 best campaigns I'd say we ran last year was just online stuff, SEO, AdWords, everything else, aspirin campaign and referrals. Those by far generated us the most leads. And, like I say, we'll detail all that out in boot camp. The biggest lessons for 2020 and really years past, there's a couple of things I feel like I've learned, but there's a lot I've learned, but the biggest thing I feel like that pushes into it is, one, there's no shortcuts and you have to do the work. There's just no way around it. And people that want to run one or a couple and hope they get results, they're never going to grow. I mean, yeah, you'll grow, but you'll never grow well and you'll never have the things. And what hit me was I was sitting in one of the producer club meetings and you talked about oil wells, and it was, that wasn't new terminology, but you basically said, if you lost a customer today, which one can you turn up and replace that work? And you have to know those numbers. And I thought, I don't have any of those. I don't know what I could just go do more of, right? I'm going to double the aspirin campaign. I'm going to put more money into Google Ads and it'll take me, X months approximately to probably get that back, right? I mean, it's all probabilities, but I just didn't know those numbers well enough. And so creating those processes that you can do that significantly helps. The other thing that I have learned over the years is high growth is controlled chaos. And I know you've even said stuff like this before as well. As
embrace chaos, embrace the suck. Yep.
It is. And I'm not talking, chaos, you should have a well-documented support process. People should get serviced a certain way. It's not necessarily that, but there have been 2 or 3 or 4 times I can look back and over the last 2 years, we've really just been growing crazy. But even a couple others where we got a huge client or a couple of really big clients in a short period of time, and human nature and what I did was stop, right? I circled the wagons. I wanted to, get control of everything again a little bit. And then you're starting over again. Like you said in the beginning of this call, and starting over takes so much time. Your flywheel stops, your momentum's gone, and now you have to rebuild it all back up again. And it takes so much time. And so as much as you can stabilize things and provide good quality service, you have to embrace the suck and you have to live in the controlled chaos and truthfully push the gas harder, right? And when you feel like, again, and I'm not talking about business fundamentals are bad and I'm not making money, but when you feel like I need to stop just so I can hold on better, stomp on the gas and find a different way to hold on, grip with your thighs or whatever it is you need to do, but right. You can't jump off that horse. You got to keep going. And that will make it so that you'll be the person that can be up on stage or whatever, talking about how you grew 50% in the middle of COVID or whatever the case was. And again, all the stuff that we did was piece by piece. It wasn't one magic campaign. It wasn't one thing we did. It wasn't acquisition. It was, we did a lot of work and, you know, kept staying in the trenches and just, you know, looked for opportunity and kept doing work. The other thing we've done recently that I think has been really cool is Vern Harnish came, I don't know when he was here, 6 months ago or so, when he was at Producers Club, and he talked about Paul Akers and Fast Cap and Banish Sloppiness. I read that book, and then I read his other one, 2 Second Lean, and it's basically just about constant process improvement. But one of the things we've done that has been really cool through the end of 2020 and into 2021 is we just created a Teams channel that's everybody's daily focus. And so they say everybody on the team by 8:15 in the morning puts what their focus of the day is, what they're stuck on if they are, and what's one way they can save 2 seconds. And so maybe that's creating documentation, maybe that's automating a process, maybe that's turning off a ticket that we just ignore anyways. There's all the, and so it's amazing seeing everybody find all these different ways to increase efficiency. And then we've also moved our project needle pretty far because everybody's that daily focus out loud of saying, here's my priority today, helps align everybody into that. And those things have been really, really super helpful.
Awesome. Okay. Well, for time, here's what I want you to do. There's questions coming in. And just so we don't make this a 3-hour marathon, Mike, if you could address, you know, you can see the questions, I think, if you can just type the questions to these people, just so everybody knows. But what I think I'll do is I'll take all these questions that are coming in. I'll take what answer you write and respond, and maybe I'll do some additional videos, or I'll write it in a blog post or something, because there's tons of questions coming in, and like what percentage of your campaigns are automated, and, you know, what was your marketing budget, and you know, just all kinds of questions. So guys, keep posting those questions. Mike, if you don't mind hanging on, just answer those questions that are relevant, you know, to you, because some of them are just more generic. And I invite all of you, the contestants, to do that. So Ryan, if you could just kind of, you know, help moderate that on the background. All right. So I'm going to keep moving on. Thank you, Mike. That was great. And we're going to move on to Ross Browse, Continuous Networks. He's based in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Founded the company in 1997. He's got 21 employees. And at the end of 2020, he was at 4.7 million. Ross, hey, brother.
How's it going?
All right. How are you?
I'm good.
All right. And so tell me, you know, unpack this a little. Tell us a little bit more about your company, just so people get a feel for, you know, maybe your target market, how many locations, whatever you want to fill in the blanks with.
Yeah, sure. So we actually weren't an MSP when we started. We were a web hosting company, and I didn't actually found the original company. That was my business partner. I used to be his employee. And then I quit my job, went out and started my own web hosting company, and then came back and merged that company with his company. Okay. So it was kind of a roundabout free-for-all way of getting to this point today. But we became an MSP after Hurricane Sandy, when we had our own data center and people were coming to us going, I need to get out of my office. I can't stand this. I'm flooded. I have no power. So it was like a disaster scenario that really got us started. I guess a real interesting thing about us today that I can share is about, I guess, 6 months before the lockdown, we went completely remote. And to this day, we still don't operate out of an office. We all work from home and we're. So when the lockdown happened in COVID, we're just like, okay.
It was just another day.
Let's just keep going.
Awesome. All right. Well, let me go over your results real quick. So in 2020, you got your revenues up over 1.2 million, MRR up 156,000, which is phenomenal. Net profits up 1.2 million, just insane. So, you know, I think, when people, let me ask you this, because when people see these kinds of growth numbers, I think they don't get excited. They get a little like panicked, and they feel tired. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God. Cause I think a lot of people that are watching, they're doing the work. And so when they see that, they go, oh my God. Right. So, I don't know. I mean, like, talk about that a little bit. Did this come from existing customers, new customers, a combination?
I mean, everything. It was going back to something you said before about that feeling where people are thinking, well, how do I do this? I had a really bad year. We had a lot of really bad years. 2017, 2018, even 2019, they were bad. And I remember going and meeting with my accountability group every week, and I'd be posting my numbers in there, and they'd look at me and they say, Ross, what the hell are you doing? Like, you don't have any sales appointments, or you've got sales appointments and you're not closing any deals. Like, what's going on here? And I said, well, listen, we're making improvements across our entire business. We're changing our financial perspective in all of our disciplines. We're changing our operations. We're changing our sales and marketing. We're making a ton of investment into all of these processes that are behind the scenes. And I believe that when that all comes to fruition, we're going to get results.
Mm-hmm. And they did.
Here we are.
Here you are. Yeah.
Here
so
we are.
So what campaigns did you implement to get this kind of growth?
So, we've run a lot of the campaigns. We've been a Producers Club since spring of 2015. So we've ran Bad Date campaign. We've ran Aspirin campaign. We've ran Closer Look campaign. We've done a lot of these. But in 2018, you introduced something to us called the Marketing Success Scorecard and challenged us to go out and create one of our own. And I did that, and I really loved it. I just completely fell in love with it. And so what I started to create, rather than sending out tons of campaigns, was just one campaign that I would focus on. And everything that I did led to this funnel, which was that campaign. So we call it today Continuous Cyber Score. And we use it with our clients. We use it with our prospects. We even use it internally as a way to manage to best practices and standards. So as we go through the operations team, the technical team, as they're working, they use that same process to get better results from clients. So we've just made that an entire underpinned foundation of everything that we do.
Right. And just so those of you watching, because this is something I've talked to Producers Club members about, but a lot of clients aren't familiar with this. So just give me like 30 seconds to unpack it. And that is, we have, we use the marketing roadmap, but we also have a client success scorecard. And it was one of the best things that we did, Technology Marketing Toolkit, we did, because what it helped our clients to do is to, after they became a client, to grade themselves on the marketing. How well are you doing? What are the gaps? Where are you weak? Where do you need to, where you need to connect the dots? And we use that in a sales process, and it worked phenomenally well because it's a very natural process. It doesn't feel like you're selling. It feels like we're reviewing your marketing plan. And in your case, we're reviewing your cybersecurity sort of, what would you call it? Just approach, or, your protections, and we're scoring you. And when you do that, so one thing, it puts you, just you having that puts you in an authoritative position, because you're saying, right, here's what a good cybersecurity, what complete cybersecurity protection looks like, or approach. I don't know, however you want to say it. Right. And these are the areas that you need to be protected. And this is where what good is. See, a lot of times you're selling to clients, they don't know what good is. And right, so you've got to teach them what good is, and you got to sell them on that, because then when you sell them the improvement, it makes sense. Because if you just go in and you say, hey, you need A, B, C, X, Y, Z, you need all these things, a lot of times they're going, do I really need that? I don't even know what that is. And so the scorecard really allows you to have a process for helping a customer understand what good is, what they need, where they're weak. And so that's where the scorecard idea, but Ross, you really took this and made it your own and really enhanced this. So this is now your sales process, correct?
Yeah, it's our entire sales process. Everything we're doing around marketing is just getting people into that funnel. And you're exactly right. The impact that it had on me when I did that, when I looked at my low score, I think it was a 43 out of 110 when I first did it. And I went, wow, I really suck. Like, I just am not doing so many of these things. And the problem with people buying managed services, IT services, is they don't know what good is. No. They have no idea. You can say, hey, is everything working fine? And they say, yeah, there's no problems, so it must all be okay. I'm spending enough money. I got the right people in place. And I say, well, what if I told you that wasn't the case? What would you say? And I make them grade themselves. Mm-hmm. So they guess at what score they're going to have before they take it. We go through the process and do it. And then I say, well, it isn't quite what you thought. How are you feeling now that you've seen that? And inevitably, they all feel let down by their own decision-making processes. Mm-hmm. And so I say, okay, well, let's start figuring out how we can go about improving this. How can we help you? We call it our disciplines of technology health. So that's really what they're assessing themselves on, is their overall technology health. And it's not just cybersecurity, it's efficiency, it's backup and disaster recovery. It's a whole different mindset that they're now thinking about the way they treat technology, and it's got to change.
Right. And so you're taking this to existing clients as well as new prospects, is that right?
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely. Yep.
Are you using this in your QBRs?
I'm using it in my QBRs, everything. I mean, even when we sit down and talk in the operations team, we have discussions about where we are in certain areas. Every single client has their own scorecard, and we're assessing that every 3 months. And we use that to generate project and hardware revenue. So where are you missing? Where are the gaps? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how it impacts your business. You guys said you wanted to increase your profit this year, but we're seeing massive efficiency problems here in this one specific area. What if we did this? Here's a project that would solve that problem. They go, okay, that's great. And they check off and we do the project and it's done.
Yeah, it's a very natural consultative sales process. It feels like when you're using a scorecard approach like that, it's just like you go into the doctor. It's like people are used to being assessed. And I think most salespeople, this is a lesson for all of you watching this. I think too many salespeople jump to selling before they diagnose. So they jump to the prescription without any kind of assessment. And I think that's a mistake, because the prospect needs to feel as though you are not just selling them some SKU item off a shelf. Like, oh yeah, here, here's the thing I got, I'm going to sell it to you. But if they feel like it's more diagnostic and customized to them, then they, instantly they're more willing to buy into it and everything else. So that's a really smart thing. And but you've done more than just, so that's a big one, but what else are you doing for marketing? You have an appointment setter now. You have a marketing team, I believe.
Yeah. So we're doing a lot of things. We've got an appointment setter. We've had one for quite a while. I'm getting ready to hire another one just because we're not keeping up with the amount of load right at the moment that's coming in. Very focused on digital marketing. So LinkedIn ads, Facebook ads, a lot of video creation. I've actually, this needs to be me because I'm building myself up as the authoritative figure here, talking about not just things in technology, but things in business. How can you improve your business efficiency? How do you teach your employees better time management? And so beginning to create a lot of that awareness. I built a whole video studio in my basement just to record these videos. And so now with the free time that I have, I go down there and I write these scripts and record them and just release them. Now you don't have to go to that length. You can do it right here in front of your webcam and probably have the same impact. I was a film major, so I'm crazy.
So you notice like the quality. It probably drives you nuts when people whip out an iPhone and they're like all shaky and the lighting is bad. And I know I work with AV guys, and oh my God, lighting is like, holy shit. Like I'm telling you, when you see the boot camp video, you go, oh, it's like 3 minutes. It takes like 18 hours to shoot it,
To put it all together and the editing and the sound. Yeah, it's a lot. But you don't have to go to that length. Like, I don't want to paint the picture that you have to go to that length to do it. You don't. You just have to be out there. Our goal right now is to be videos posted every single day on LinkedIn and Facebook. And to keep up with those social media algorithms, you have to. And then they're on the website as well. That's where people want to be right now. They are engaged by video.
Excellent. Now, let me ask you this. So people are watching, you're going to go over the scorecard process. You're going to go over your marketing in detail at boot camp, right? You're going to go over that. But what advice, like, what did you learn? I think going through this process where, going back to 2016, I mean, I know from your essay that, you were going through some really tough times, working your ass off and just not getting anywhere, and that can make anybody discouraged and want to give up. So, I mean, what would you say to the person watching this who has the toolkit and is like, you know what, I'm struggling, I'm trying. I mean, what advice would you give them?
I mean, I would say they're probably wasting a lot of time with fillers that aren't getting them anywhere. I know I certainly was. I had it in my head that more time in front of my computer was more time to push my business forward. And I don't think that way anymore. Now I make sure that I'm in the gym every day. I make sure that I have family time every day. I'm still just as busy as I was, but I set aside those times and I book them out of my calendar, and they're non-negotiables. They happen every single day. I'm not doing it. It's going to happen. And that's driven success in the business because I'm so regimented and I'm so disciplined about those other things that I'm doing. And I'm not missing out on my kids' ideas or thoughts or their artwork or anything like that any longer. I've got more time to spend with my wife and talk to her. It's improved my relationship with her. So you can't just obsess about your business. You have to balance all parts of your life. And probably what happens when you do that, because it certainly happened for me, is that you're going to get better output, and your partners or your employees, they all see that. You're happier, you're easier to deal with, and you get results.
Very cool. All right. Ross, you're going to hang out. I see a bunch of questions popping up here. If you don't mind, you can hop on and answer some of those.
Good thing.
Yeah, I mean, the questions are just flooding in. So, all right. And next up, I've got Tom Glover, Responsive Technology Partner. Some of you might remember him. He was a finalist last year as well. He's based in Milledgeville, if I'm saying that right. Milledgeville, is that right,
Yeah,
Tom?
you got it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Founded in 2007, 60 employees, and 8.1 million in 2020. I know you're currently on a run rate for about 10.5 million this year. So phenomenal. Real quick, Tom, welcome. Tell everyone a little bit more about your company.
Yeah. So as you said, we were started in 2007. Kind of like Ross, I didn't start to be an MSP. We were doing enterprise architecture consulting, really heavily vested in the financial services sector, which grew the company from 0 to almost 3 million really overnight. And then end of 2008, we saw us go from 3 million to 0 overnight as the economy tanked. So that was the point when I stopped and restarted the company. And it just kind of kickstarted, said, really don't want to deal with super large companies anymore, like the small company. And so we started doing MSP work. And since then we've grown. Like I said, we've got 60 employees now with 8 locations spread throughout Georgia, Virginia, North Carolina, and Florida. Mm-hmm. When I first started, we were really targeting accounting firms and healthcare. That was kind of my niche. And through the years and through some of the acquisitions we've done, we've added manufacturing and grown a lot more into the local government space as well. So it's kind of cool getting to work with a lot of these different verticals and have expertise in those that we can share and leverage.
Okay. Very cool. Now let me go over your results, because these are pretty phenomenal. Your revenue is up 230%. MRR up $240,513. Net profits up $696,000. And one thing I want to point out, you mentioned it in your essay, so people read the essay, they'll learn this. But in 2018, you were only doing 600,000 in revenue, and now 4 or 5 years later, you're going to be at 10.5. That's an enormous jump in revenue. I mean, 79% of our industry never gets beyond the $1 million mark. And, here you are. I mean, talk about how you did that. That's insane.
Yeah. So, I talked last year a lot about kind of that journey from at that point, 600,000 to 2.6 million. And huge part of it was learning how to market. I think in my first essay, I called it the blind squirrel approach to marketing, what we were doing before. Throw enough stuff out there, eventually something will hit and you'll get a lead here or there. But when we started focusing on a routine and, regular marketing drumbeat of activity, then it starts to build. Nothing happened overnight with it. But you got a few leads here, and then you run the next campaign and you get more leads coming in. At the end of 2018, I sold my company, sold it to a telco, and then took over running the new organization. So through that sale, we merged my company with another company about equal size. Actually, both of us started in 2007, a lot of similarities, but then there were huge amounts of differences too. So the company I merged with, they were all break fix. Mm-hmm. They had very few processes in place. So that really through 2019 was a lot of our focus, aside from still doing the marketing, still hitting the regular drumbeat of activity. We were trying to get tame the wild beasts that they were, I guess is the best way to put it. And slowly started converting those customers over to managed customers to MRR revenue. Still doing it. It's not an overnight thing, especially when you've got customers that they had been doing a lot of the same things we were doing, and we were charging for it and they weren't. So, we've been pretty successful, through that. That kind of got us our taste for the merger and acquisition space. And as I say in my essay, last year, we acquired 3 MSPs. I don't recommend doing that many in a year. It has been challenging to say the least. But
I'm glad you can laugh about it because it's either that or cry, I think, right?
That's it, and throw in rebranding the company on top of it, and it's lucky I have any hair left to try. It's all turned gray for sure, but on top of that though, it's easy to say, oh, just grow through acquisition. That's kind of easy if you got the money to do it. We grew our core business in Georgia by $1.1 million last year. So while we're doing the acquisitions, while we're trying to integrate these companies together, we were still pouring fuel to the fire. So we were still growing through our marketing efforts and in spite of what was going on with COVID.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say something because, I know some people watching this will go, oh, well, that's how he did. He grew by acquisition, and they dismiss it like, well, like if you didn't do it organically, you're a loser, and so one is growing through acquisition is still a way to grow. Okay. So there's nothing wrong with that. Number 2, acquiring companies has its own set of nightmares. If you've ever tried to merge companies, you got culture clash, you got system and process, you've got to deal with customers and communication. I mean, it is a lot of work. And I know of people who've done acquisitions and have lost money, like not grown, but gone the other way. So it's not just like you acquire a company and all of a sudden, that's the magical elixir. And if you think it is, then go out and acquire a company. If you think that's the easy way to growth, go do it, and then you'll have a completely different perspective. So I just want to say that. But, but the other thing is, I watched you because you and I talk more, I think, than a lot of clients, because you're in the various different, like some of the groups that were working on campaigns. And I know that you were during, the shutdowns, you were very actively doing like a customer outreach campaign. You did strategic JV partnerships. You created resources for your community. You were doing video blogs. I mean, you were hustling too. So it besides the acquisition, talk about what are the campaigns that you did that you think gave you the biggest bang for the buck last year and even in general?
So, I mean, that was spot on, Robin, because one of the things, if I look back and say, what's that one big thing that we did? And that was to get out in front of COVID early. I jumped in with both feet early in March. We made over 2,000 phone calls to our customers from March through May. We called every customer we talked to every customer 3 times. There were a lot more phone calls to get to those conversations. Just in doing that, it was amazing the amount of business that we generated. Some of these were customers we hadn't done work for in the last 12 months, but we reached out. It wasn't, what can I sell you? It was, hey, we just want to check on you. We want to make sure you're okay. We got these things that we're doing for all of our customers for free that you can take advantage of, because I knew when everyone went to the work from home, we were going to see really big cyber issues. So we offered for every single one of our customers to put them onto our RMM tool, give them a secure mechanism for accessing their systems, and they took us up on it. And some of those customers who hadn't been doing business, now they're in our RMM. It was pretty easy to convert them after the fact into taking advantage of more of our services. We worked with our VoIP partner to offer free voice over IP. So we were able to roll out free soft phones to customers, get them onto the VoIP platform so that they could quickly work from home, answer their phones, and still operate somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the JV partnership. So that was one of the huge opportunities that we found. After we took care of our existing customers, I went to the local chambers of commerce in every community we work with and said, hey, we want to help you. We want to give back to our community. We've got some webinars that we can do, to kind of get the word out there, talk about some of these things. But we're also going to open up the free VoIP and the free secure remote access to any of your chamber members. So we had some, and I wouldn't say it was a huge number that jumped in and took advantage of that, but the impact to the community, the perceived impact was huge. I mentioned in my essay that we were recognized by Inc. magazine in one of their new contests for companies who had made the biggest impact in their community. So we got a bronze level award for doing this kind of work. But the nice thing is it's paying now. As we went through 2020 and we're going into 2021, we're also getting a lot of new opportunities from these communities that saw what we did and want to kind of be part of the team.
Right. Right. So I know, again, I'm going to remind you guys at boot camp, you'll actually, all the templates, the campaigns, the scripts, the everything, that Tom and the other contestants use, you'll be getting those. And I just want to underscore something you said, because when COVID hit, all I kept hearing from everybody is nobody's answering the phone. Nobody's buying anything like that. And anytime I hear an absolute like this, like nobody or everybody, right there, it's bullshit, right? You know what I mean? It's like, you can't tell me that nobody's answering the phone. Maybe fewer are, but that doesn't mean nobody, right? So, and I know you got out ahead of it, and you did what we told people to do, is reach out to your customers. Now more than ever, you need more communication, not less. And like you said, it's paying off. So, let me ask you this. So, going back, several years ago before the acquisitions, and, you're trying to figure out the marketing, because you came to a rapid implementation workshop, I think.
That's right.
Right. If I'm not mistaken.
Yep, I did.
Yeah. Okay. So, when you first started to now, like, what were the biggest lessons that you learned?
A couple of things, and I'll hit the last one. That was 2020. It was really a wake up, but as others have said, you have to do the work. There are no shortcuts. It's about a daily routine. You have to get out of your own way. That was one of the biggest kind of hit right in the forehead for me early on, is I was my own worst enemy because I wouldn't turn loose of anything. I was the only one that could do it right. I was the only one to do it the way I wanted. And there's only so many hours in the day, right? So getting back, delegating, starting to build that team around you of people that you can trust, and then teaching them how to do the work, that right there was, I think, the biggest game changer. What I saw in 2020 is that I wasn't talking to my existing customers nearly enough. The conversation. I mean, I'm not talking about just sending them an email, but having the conversations with them, showing interest in their business, in them personally. That has cemented so many relationships for us and resulted in, just huge amounts of money that they've spent with us when the economy was so uncertain in 2020. But they trusted us. They trusted that we were there to really help them, which we were. And, being able to do things like somebody mentioned that there was a shortage. I mean, we all saw that shortage of new computers, shortage of laptops. Well, I found a vendor that I could get refurbished laptops for. And we bought, I don't know how, probably 100 or so refurbished laptops that we purchased and put out into the hands of a lot of our customers that needed them. They really appreciated that. Just kind of thinking creatively and stepping out of the box for them.
Right. So, and we're going to be doing a session on QBRs or technology business reviews at boot camp. I just want to put that out there because, you know, like you're saying, reaching out and having those, not just an email, not just sending a newsletter, but having a conversation with a customer more frequently, not less frequently. You know, I can't underscore that enough. I mean, people just, sales doesn't happen. Like clients aren't going to call you on the phone and go, you know, hey, Tom, I got a huge pile of money over here. I don't know what to do with. You got anything like you could sell me? I mean, that doesn't happen. And so whoever's showing up and just having discussions with the customer, I'm not even going to say selling, but just having a discussion with a customer, it just naturally leads to sales happening. What's going on? What are you struggling with? You know, because then like when they're on the phone with you, all of a sudden things pop into their head. Oh, you know what? We probably need help with this. Oh, you know, we probably need help with that. So I think that's really fantastic. And you know, I appreciate you sharing that. So we're going to keep moving on. Tom, hang out. I know you got a ton of questions about acquisitions and why'd you buy them, but we're going to have to keep moving just to stay on track here. So thank you, Tom. And guys, keep posting your questions because I see they're being answered as we go. So Neil Jorn Technology, based in San Antonio, Texas. He's founded in 2012. He's got 15 employees. And did 2.4 million in 2020. Neil, how are you, man?
I'm good. Thanks for inviting me on. Yeah, we're in San Antonio. We just had our anniversary 2 days ago. 9-year-old company.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
and
right.
I started as just a one-man IT shop, like probably a lot of people on this webinar. So it's been an incredible experience so far. We're expanding this year into Austin. So San Antonio is about a little over an hour south of there, and so we're making that push for the first time to go into another market. Our target has been construction and nonprofits primarily. We do pick up clients from like healthcare and other places too, but that's who we've been after. And when I was at Rapid Implementation, I remember you were given a presentation on kind of going after your target market. One of the ones you put up there was construction, and it seemed a little unusual, but that's exactly what we were going after, and it's been a huge growth area for us. So
yeah, construction's one of the when we poll our clients and ask them what vertical do your best managed services clients reside in, what business vertical, construction's right up there. Medical is still the king, but construction's another big one for sure. So let me go over your results. So you from one man band, right? Just doing it yourself. You got your revenues up 1.2 million. So that is insanely good. MRR up 66,000 and net profits up 32%. So, I mean, like, again, I think I would put you, there's a lot of people that are watching that maybe they are that one man band and, you know, I don't have the time and so forth. But you really started picking up steam, I think, in 2019, and that carried into 2020, because in your essay here, you know, you say in 2019, you hired a marketing manager, and hit the ground running, really got things up. I think by the end of 2019, you had an MRR growth of 47,000 that year. From 47,000, you grew it to 85,000. It's a 77% increase you had in 2019. And so you were already kind of, you know, rolling fast when you came into 2020. So tell me, like, what campaigns or what things did you do that helped you get ramped up so quickly?
Yeah, so 2019, that whole year we were in accelerators. And that's really the only reason I think we broke $1 million in revenue for the first time. And that, you know, helped us get that, you know, 77% increase in MRR. That year we did Aspirin, a lot of just the same things you would learn in accelerators. And we just continued that in 2020 with a little bit of added SEO, more focus on referrals. And our biggest new client, which is really interesting, our biggest client of 2020 came through our print newsletter, which was really interesting. A client that someone that we had marketed or spoken to way back in 2018, before accelerators, before all that. We got to do a proposal to them in 2019, and they didn't pick us. They picked another MSP. But they knew about us, and we just kept sending them our print newsletter every single month. And about halfway through 2019, they said, hey, this other MSP, we probably should have picked you. But the thing that kept us top of mind was that print newsletter. And so in January of 2020, we closed that deal, and it was large, like 30,000 MRR.
Wow.
Yeah. And so 2020 was off to a great start, and then it flatlined like crazy, COVID
Right.
hit and it was flat, but we never stopped. We just continued Aspirin. We got 2 new clients from the Aspirin, that's big for us. And then our SEO, we just implemented some simple SEO things, very simple things to do. Some more online marketing. We had worked with Mike Stadola, and your team had just said, hey, print, stuff through the mail is getting delayed, and there, might not be as effective, but we just continued it anyway. And then we said, let's see what we can do online. And we managed to get our website traffic from about 300 visitors to about 1,700 visitors per month.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that really helped. And we closed 4 new clients through website and SEO.
Okay. Very good. Well, I mean, the revenue is phenomenal, profits, MRR, all of that. Now, rolling into, like, when you first came to accelerators, I'm just curious, did you have like break fix clients and then convert them to managed, or did you start managed from the beginning?
I started managed probably about 2017, and had a few break fix. I actually converted one, I think, with a 9-word email, if I remember right.
Okay.
I'd been telling them you got to go manage, and they never did. And then at Rapid, I sent them a 9-word email, and they converted finally. But so yeah, we were mostly managed, but we just didn't know how to do marketing at all. Basically, we just, I'd say that's the big takeaway, is that marketing wins. In the end, marketing wins, because you could be a worse MSP and still outgrow somebody else that's a lot better if you at least do the marketing,
Yeah. Well, I think, you don't want to, I always say too, that if your services really truly suck,
Yeah.
then marketing is just going to accelerate the pace at which people find out you're no good, right?
Yeah.
So marketing gets the new client in the door, your service keeps them, right? And expands it and grows it. So you do need both. But what I see is, like, because even you said here in your essay, I've got to hear, you said there was a quote you saw on LinkedIn, and it was something to the effect of, you can always tell when a small company will stay small because they obsess about the product, service, and neglect the business, sales, and marketing aspects of running a company. If you don't do it all, you stay small. And so, I think what you're saying is, the service, you got to get the service where it's good. I mean, don't get me wrong, but there's a certain point where good enough is good enough, and you can't then neglect the sales and marketing, because, just continually improving your service, which is a bottomless pit, because there's always something you can improve. You're never growing because you're not doing the marketing. I mean, that's what you're saying, I think.
Yeah. And that quote was exactly who we were. I was over there with this technical side of the company, like a lump of coal, making it into a diamond just continuously, and not spending any time on marketing. And so, but I knew I had to make a change. And so making that switch to saying, we're going to do it all. And one of the keys for me was not trying to do it all by myself, like Tom just said, was building a team. So we went, in 2019, it was just me and my marketing manager, Bella. And then in 2020, we added 2 more marketing people to our staff, a marketing assistant and a caller as well. So.
Okay, very good. Now, what advice, like looking back, what did you learn? What advice would you give someone who's out there watching, who may be where you were, trying to turn their lump of coal into a diamond and only focusing inward? What advice would you give them?
I would say, get some help. Don't be afraid to hire someone you're going to raise up to be a leader in your organization, so you can do this. because my problem was trying to do it on my own. I was just never making the time to do it. And so don't be afraid to go find that person who's going to help you get it done. Just actually do it. And that was huge. That was huge. You know, someone who has the passion to just to wants to do this as much as you do, you know. And that was huge. And with that, it just accelerated our growth, because we could work as a team and say, you know, what are the things we have to accomplish in marketing, and let's do all of them. You know, let's make sure we check every box, really, you know.
Yeah, well, I think also hiring a marketing person forces you to do marketing, because they walk in your office and go, okay, boss, what are we doing? Right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think that's part of why some people don't hire a marketing person. They'll say, well, I can't, you know, can I afford it? Or when's the right time? It's like, well, the right time is like when you want to grow. That's the, you know, and I think they're freaking out because they don't know what to have them do. But, you know, sometimes you just got to get moving in a direction and get started. So it sounds like you did, and great job. And again, I would, guys, all the details and so forth, you know, of what they did, like what Neil did, his campaigns, his numbers, you know, it's all up in those essays. So I recommend you guys take a look at that. So Neil, thank you so much. Hang out. There's questions for you too. I can see, you know, people like the question is, log is blowing up here. So let me move on to the fifth and, like last but not least, so to speak, contestant. And that's Leah Fryman. Leah is the co-founder, because with her husband, based in Spring Valley, New York, founded in 2008. She's got 14 employees. At the end of 2020, she was at 2.5 million. So Leah, welcome.
Hi. A little bit about my company. I founded in 2008. Just because my husband couldn't find a job and he was technical, and I lost my job as a mortgage broker because the market crashed. So I just thought it was very easy to found the company, and I told him, I will hire you. You'll do the work. I'll do the business part of it. And then by 2012, 2013, something like that, we were kind of maxed out with everything. And then we came to your first rapid implementation. And it was very eye-opening, and we were like, yes, we got this. This is what we need. We just have got to implement this stuff. And as you know, I'm a go-getter. So I was never that person that bought the toolkit and left it on the shelf. I always
hustled. No, you were. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first time I looked at the toolkit and I hustled through it, and I did the first rapid implementation. I got my first few clients from there. We switched out of break fix to MSP. And then we moved up from there to MSSP now. And we opened up our new cybersecurity company now in 2020.
Okay. So when you started, did you right out of the bat, were you an MSP, or did you do break fix, or what were you doing when you started?
No, we did break fix. We didn't even know that MSP existed.
Okay. All right. So I just want to make sure people knew that. Now in 2020, you actually had your revenues got up to 1.5 million, over like almost 1.6 million, MRR up 82,000, and your net profits up $1 million, which is just crazy, crazy good. What are the campaigns? What did you do to generate those kinds of results?
So I redid Rapid in the beginning of 2020. I decided to take the year off and redo my company. I know that we say embrace the chaos, but at some point it gets to a place where you have to actually take a step back and look at your company and ask yourself if you can grow with what you have. And I couldn't. So I redid Rapid, we redid our marketing, we did MAP 2.0, and I decided to focus on building the company and kind of take a break from sales, and focus on my company and focus on growing the people in the company, getting the right people, the right seat in the right bus, all that stuff. And that is essentially what got me to this kind of growth.
So where did that revenue come from? Was that new clients? Was that existing clients?
Mainly no new clients. First off, I have a very good relationship with my clients. I've lost like 3 clients in 13 years. So I build that relationship all my life. I think that's the most important part of it. I launched in 2019, I did a cybersecurity event for business owners. No geek speak. If you want to know what cybersecurity is, the world's going nuts with security and you don't know what all these words mean and you don't know if your MSP is doing a good job or not. This was going to be a no geek speak event. We had 250 people attend. It was maxed out. It was a first time event, fully covered the cost of it. So that I hear is fantastic on its own. We had sponsors, we had great companies there, and it kind of put me on the map for cybersecurity. That was in June of 2019. And then I launched a program called Digital Diligence, which is a very good program. You call it drip campaigning, and that's all it is. It's drip marketing, the newsletters. I have daily tech tip videos that go out, like a good morning, 30-second video. We have the online newsletters, the print newsletters. We have everything else, the blog posts, the emails, we have quizzes, and, a whole program. And when somebody's not yet a hot client or a hot lead or anything like that, I say, can I at least add your company to our digital diligence program? It's completely free. Check it out. It'll just get your users there. So cybersecurity became something that I became very passionate about. And I also positioned myself as an expert. Now, I want to put it out there that I'm not a technical person. So I'm not actually an expert. And I'm very open with telling people this is above my pay grade when they start asking me technical questions. But I do position myself in the place where I am a business person and I know as a company what you need as a company. Everybody needs something else. So I'm here to talk to you and let's see what you needed. And then I'll bring in my tech guys when necessary in the sale. So cybersecurity was a big thing for me. I started selling security licenses, which was a big chunk of that growth. And the idea was it was a la carte. Choose what you want. This is what I recommend. And I upsold all my clients right away. And it came a lot from having a good relationship with them, but it also came with keeping them up to, it wasn't like from one month to the next, okay, this is cybersecurity, I have to bring you there. I started in June, slowly. We did the event, we did the digital diligence. I started talking about security and we constantly got there. The second part of it on the revenue, not the MRR, was the QBRs. I know everyone's saying it, and it sounds cliche, but if you're not doing QBRs, you're losing your clients, you're leaving money on the table. The QBRs has helped me with everything. It gave me a good feeling of where I am with each client. So I'm very settled and solid, and I know where the client is up to with me. I know if they're happy, if they're not happy, what they're not happy about. So it gives me a good direction. And if I go to, like in the last 2 weeks, I've been to 4 QBRs. And I go there and I see that everybody's complaining about one specific thing. I know that thing is a real issue across the board and we have to fix it. So just taking the inside of the company and understanding what needs to be fixed, even that stuff, forget about the sale part that comes out of the QBRs. The other thing we did, because I was taking a break from sale, was company accountability. That was hands down one of the biggest revenue boosters in the company, because I didn't realize how much projects I actually had on hand and how much my clients needed and they wanted actually to spend money, just give it to us. But my techs weren't putting in their time. The clock in, clock outs weren't going as should be. It was kind of a free for all, and I needed to hone in and become not a like boss, but a respected boss, and really get the accountability in the company. I followed the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, and I gave my team a 2-day course on it. And we go through the different habits every week in our weekly meetings. We set up the meetings, we set up big rocks, we set up all these different business pieces of it that, even say we have to, now that our techs are putting their time into each project, if we have to do a new project, we can now go back and say, okay, that's how much time you spent on this. Now we can quote it out. A quote used to take us about a week to figure out, okay, so how are we going to quote it? How long does it take? What do you think? What do you think? And now just tell me what that took. It's the exact same project. We're going to make some changes, tweaks, and a quote takes about an hour to make. So that was the cybersecurity, the QBRs, company accountability. Those were my 3 biggest boosters.
Okay. So what I'm hearing, what it sounds to me like is you, and I know like it's not even doing you justice, I think, because you do a lot of marketing. You say like, well, I wasn't really selling in 2020, but you actually were. I mean, you were just inward focused on the opportunities that you had expanding it, right? And so is that fair to say?
So it's fair to say that that's what happened. When I started this, I said, I have to fix up my company, no sales. And what happened was I was actually selling, because by fixing up the company, I was selling to existing clients. I followed a lot the pumpkin plan, where every client was important and I was going to nurture every client. So I learned that upselling is just as important as selling to new people.
Right. So it sounds to me like in 2019, especially with 250 people attending, I think everybody, if you want to give something at boot camp, I know this is live and it's off the cuff and you don't have to give me an answer, but if you would share with people like how you got 250 people to attend a cybersecurity seminar, I mean, I know that they would line up to know how to do that, because it sounds to me like you were 2018, 2019. I just know you were doing a lot of marketing. So when 2020 kind of hit, you were like, all right, it was kind of almost the realization of you've built up this big momentum and you were sort of sorting through all the opportunity, tightening up the company, tightening up response times, doing the QBRs, doing the projects and all of this focusing, becoming, and the other thing I think it's important is, you made yourself the cybersecurity expert. Like you said, you're not the tech who goes in and does actually installs the applications and all the rest of it. But you know it enough what needs to be done to have that C-level executive conversation, correct?
Yes. Yeah. And because I'm not the tech, I don't have a technical conversation where they tune me out after 5 minutes.
Right.
It's a business conversation. So, and now that I did this to my company and I grew every client to its potential, taking on a new client is a whole new, it gives it a whole new picture of how I'm onboarding them, what I'm offering them. There's no such a thing as getting a lower price anymore, where that was always happening, because now I know what I'm doing and I know what I'm offering, and everything is very, very clear cut by now.
Right. So, I just want to add on, I was been asking everybody, what'd you learn? But there's one unique question I want to ask for you, because people if they read your essay, they'd know, but, you had, not only, you're in the epicenter of COVID, you're in that Northeast New York area, right? So you're like in the middle of COVID, you've got 6 kids, right? Is it 6? I think, yep. Right? So you have 6 kids that you have to homeschool, right? And then you also had a little bout with cancer, yep. So you're dealing with all of that while, while you're growing this. So I'm going to ask you a little different question than the others, which, because I've been asking everyone, what was the biggest lesson you learned? And maybe you want to answer it that way, but there may be people out there that are going through some really tough times and they're trying to run a business. How did you keep it all together so that you could grow while dealing with all that hardship?
It's very interesting you asking me this question, because I had this conversation with Rich about 2 weeks ago. And the answer is, and I had to figure out the answer, so I'm happy I had that conversation with him. The answer is staying on top and asking yourself, what makes you hungry? Mm-hmm. I had no choice but to grow my business. I have 6 kids, right? I had no choice but to bring the money in. Even if I had that cancer and I had surgery on a Tuesday, and every Tuesday I meet a client, like 2 weeks later, no voice. I texted my client and said, okay, I'm going to be there on Tuesday. And it was the hunger that kept me. I needed that client. I need to, I have a special needs daughter that, because I'm in the suburbs of New York, no therapy is covered by any city programs or anything. So I have to pay for all that. And because I have to do that, I cannot say, well, my daughter's just not going to get it, because she has to get it. There's that fight in me that's going to say, I'm going to give her what she needs, and I'm going to figure out how to do that. And whether I don't have a voice or not, it doesn't matter. The fact is that I need to give her that therapy. I need to give my children their schooling. I need to put bread on the table. And it's kind of like, I want to say, a no excuse mentality. And when I hire people, I say the same thing. Never give me an excuse. You can apologize for making a mistake, but never give an excuse. Excuses don't work. You have a responsibility. I had those children, and I have the family, and I want it. It's not just that I have it. I have that responsibility. I have what I want. and I'm going to have to provide for them. So that gives me the push. And it's kind of a responsibility. I don't know, maybe. So it's the hunger, I think, that on the bottom line, it's the hunger that always stay on top of it. Because I got to a point where I have the house, I have the pool, and I got the car and the whole 9 yards, and we're doing well in business, right? My profits, a lot of it is me taking it out. So our net profit actually after everything, bottom line is very high. And at that point, that was my conversation with Rich was, okay, now I need to kind of reinvent myself because I have everything that I basically need, all the necessities. And he said, so now what makes you hungry? And then I said, okay, now I got to find that new thing that's going to make me hungry, that new thing that's going to push me out there and get there. And I found it. And I got out there and I started selling again. I got 3 new clients just in the last 2 weeks, and things are moving along because I found that new hunger that I needed. So I think constantly looking for excuses kind of what makes you hungry and what keeps you pushing you, and just going with it.
Yeah. Well, and it's a, again, nobody would fault you if you said, hey, you know what, I got so much going on. If the business had gone backwards or you didn't grow, no one would look at your situation and go, oh man, you're just making excuses. I mean, dealing with your kids being homeschooled, special needs, all these things, COVID, and you're like in New York, like Ross is in that sort of I guess the epicenter of it all, where it all really kind of went down bad. And I think that's a good way to end, to even talk about this, because all 5 of you guys that are in this competition, I mean, you really do have to want more. You got to hate being average. You got to hate mediocrity, and you got to have drive, because it is hard growing a business. I mean, anyone who says that's why, very few actually ever, there's not many entrepreneurs in the world, period. We're a minority of just business owners. And then when you add on like who's actually successful in business, it's an even smaller percentage. You got to really want it. You got to have drive. You got to have ambition. You can't talk ambition and then, because, I have my mug here. It's like, don't let your A game be average, but it's like the other mug I've got. If it's important, you'll find a way. If it's not, you'll find an excuse. So, appreciate that very much. All right. So guys, just for time here, Ryan, in a minute, I know there were a ton of questions. I'm looking, I think there was over 50 questions that came in. And so I'll ask you, Ryan, if there's 1 or 2 questions you really feel it would be, or like maybe one question would be important to ask the whole group. But again, just to remind you all, these 5 finalists are going to be on stage at our event this year, robinsbigseminar.com. And you can download their essays at robinsbigseminar.com/BYB, and their stories and their numbers and how they got there and the campaigns they used are there. If you have the toolkit, you'll have most of these campaigns. Now, you won't have their version of it. Everybody always like customizes it a bit to themselves. And so that's why I would encourage you to come to boot camp this year. It's going to be in May. It's in Orlando. The vaccines are getting distributed, and our sincere hope is by the time end of April rolls around, pretty much everybody who wants a vaccine is going to have it. And Florida is open. More states are opening. But if you don't feel safe traveling, we also have a virtual option, so you can watch virtually. It's nowhere near the same as being in person. I'm telling you, you're going to get so much more value if you're there in person. These 5 people are there. And by the way, we had a lot of entries. These are the top 5. There are a lot of our members that are succeeding, that are growing. You get to hang out with those people, and that's really important. So hopefully I stalled long enough for Ryan to come up with a question. That's what I was really doing. I was trying to, because we didn't have that conversation before he started. I was like, oh shit, I'm about to ask him to look for a question. Ryan.
You're good.
Yeah.
Actually, I've had people asking me, you mentioned it a bit about boot camp, and you addressed it already, but I'd like to get from the finalist perspective. The opportunity to be in person or virtual. I'm curious what you guys would say for those that are sitting there going like, it's a lot of time away from my business. I've got family obligations, especially, Leah, with you talking through that, like, should I make the commitment to attend in person, or is virtual going to be good enough? What's your take on that, guys? And I guess we can kind of just run through, Mike, if you want to start, and we'll go down the order if you want.
Yeah, so I would say 100% be in person if you can afford it, and and everything else. It is, you leave much more charged up, you're much more amped up. And another kind of lesson through all this stuff is the best way to work on your business is to not be in your business. Like, it's, if you're sitting at your desk watching it, somebody's knocking on your door. And it doesn't matter if you put a do not disturb sign or whatever else, you will be bothered more, and you will do much better if you show up at boot camp, put your phone on, do not disturb or silent, or just shut it off and leave it in the room, go check it at lunch or something. You'll get way more out of it, and you'll come out of it a lot better off.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Ross, let's do Ross next.
Yeah. I mean, I'll attach, right at the end of what Mike said, it's electric being there. It's not only are the sessions fantastic and you're learning a ton of stuff, but the people that you meet and their willingness to open up and share ideas and compare, there is no better way to know how well you're doing and what's going on than to work with a group of your peers. So you've got a whole ton of people that are there that do exactly what you do. Some of them might be further along than you. Some of them might be behind you. The point is you get to go there and be with them for several days. So it's just something you don't want to miss out on.
Yeah. I want, not just little tip for all of you. Whenever I go to an event, I always have in my mind, what are 3 questions or 4 or 5, few questions I really want to get the answer to, and it helps me focus. And so everybody I meet with, I'm like, hey, what are you doing for comping your salespeople, or whatever, whatever the question is. Those hallway conversations at lunch, at breakfast, at the networking, you get to talk to your vendors. You guys, I know you don't like talking to vendors always when they call you nonstop, but sometimes it's worthwhile because they can tell you new things that are happening, new products, new revenue streams. They're always giving discounts, wink, wink, nod, nod, so if you're going to go shopping, the best time to shop is at boot camp, because everybody's giving boot camp discounts. So that's really important too. All right. So anyway, I jumped in there. All right, Tom, go ahead. You're next.
Kind of piggybacking on what they said, the energy at boot camp is absolutely unbelievable. For me, 2019 was the first year I went, and I can say that was the kick in the butt that really got me excited and got me driving forward. Being able to watch the Better Your Best competition in person. Last year was definitely weird, especially for the contestants themselves, talking to a big camera in front of your face. But the energy just wasn't there with that either. Yeah. And my employees that attended it, they kind of all had the same thing. It was great to be able to have it, but being there in person, feeling the excitement, it's amazing.
Yeah. All right, Neil.
Yeah, so I was like Tom. My first one was 2019, and I've been to one in person and one virtual, and I have to say in person all the way. And mainly, it's just way too easy to get distracted when you're sitting in front of your computer. People are interrupting you. When you're there, you're engaged. Much better in person, in my view.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and Leah.
So aside for the energy that's obvious in the room, I want to go back to the hunger that I said. People said they can't afford it. It's expensive, the hotel, the flight, right? When I started with Rapid the first time, I actually borrowed the money for everything, to pay for the toolkit, to pay for the flight and the hotel and all that stuff. And that's where the stepping out of your comfort zone a little bit and staying hungry, I was like, I have to win that, because I have to get back my money, because otherwise how was I going to repay that, right? That was my kind of way of staying hungry. So if you can't afford it, there's a beautiful return on your investment, because what you're going to get from the people, just talking to the people, forget about the speeches, talking to the people around. It's the nicest group of people, I have to say. Like, people are asking me, these are all your competitions? I'm like, oh, right, they're my competitions, right? But they're not, because everyone's just very willing to share, very open to share. And when you asked me before to share my ITCon 2019, I was like, yes, I'm so excited. Let me go get that arranged and get that out there. And I want to prepare this for you. I'm so excited to share this with people, because it's just you really have a great group of people, and you can't do that virtually. You can't meet people virtually.
No, it's not the same. We try to do networking virtually and all that. It sucks, and you're right. I'm glad you mentioned that about the community because, like even when I talked to you, the finalists, and I said this to Ryan, I'm sure he communicated it to you. It's like, I don't want, when you're up on stage, yes, you're trying to win a car. Yes, you're gunning to be spokesperson for me. But what I don't want is like, really don't make it about me personally. I'm like, talk about this community that we've built and talk about the results that you've gotten, how you've transformed and give people the tools, the templates, the steps, the strategies. People want that kind of meat. And I know you guys are going to bring that and deliver it to them. But the community that I've built, I think is the single most thing I'm most proud of. It is a very generous community. It is one of giving and openness and sharing. And, that was our mission statement from the beginning, is to build that community of success-minded entrepreneurs. And I think we've achieved that. And again, I think you really can't experience it till you come to boot camp. And, just even to brag on the community more, I have people who are not my competition, they're like my peers. So they do sort of what we do, but they do it for attorneys or they do it for realtors or dentists or whatever. And, boot camp is like a mecca for a lot of them because they always come to me and say, hey, can I come to your event? Do you mind if I come to your event? Can I hang out with, can I see, like, can I be a judge? Because we asked for, them to help out with judging and whatnot. And, it's just, they say it all the time. They're like, it's like a family reunion of people that actually like each other, not a weird family, but a family that actually gets along. So yeah, I would encourage all of you guys to come to boot camp. One thing I will tell you all, I know there was a lot of questions. I will make sure all of the finalists get these questions. That'll help them craft their session at boot camp a little bit more. So when they're on stage, they can share more of those answers with you. And we'll also make sure that whether it's me writing through a blog or something, we will get your questions answered. Unfortunately, we're right up against the time here. And we could go on with all these questions a lot more. So Ryan, I don't know, I'll turn it back to you.
I think we're good. So first off, thank you. Obviously, thank you, Robin, for hosting and running this for everybody. Thank you to the 5 finalists. We're thrilled to have you guys and really excited for Orlando and seeing you all take the stage and share with our community. So we will see you guys on a future marketing deep dive call or a how-to call. We actually have one of our finalists, Leah, on our how-to call in 2 weeks, going over her cybersecurity campaign. So join us then, and we'll see everybody soon. Take care, everyone.
Thank you all. All right. Thanks, everybody. Great job.
See you guys.
See ya.